And my colleague Pei said to hold for a second. I think we can start. Hello, everyone. My name is Hu Xinyu. I'm from Beijing Cultural Heritage Protection Center. 大家晚上好，我是北京文化遗产保护中心的理事胡新宇。So this evening we're going to have a very special heritage salon because we are inviting 3 speakers, English speakers, from Thailand and Burma, and they will talk about their experiences about climate change. So this sounds like a very unique perspective because as a heritage charity, why we talk about climate change. I'm going to keep this question for the 3 speakers because they have a lot of experience in this field, especially they all went to the latest COP event. We all know that COP28 is a very important global event hosted in Dubai in Middle East, and many government organizations and non-government organizations participated this major event so that we can discuss about the challenge that everyone face on this on Earth about the climate change. So very luckily, I attended a number of meetings in the past few years. So I got to know Jarunee and Ms Moe Moe. And I haven't really met Ms Supitcha in person, but I hope to do that in the near future. I have to say that I think we are all very lucky today because not only we have 3 beautiful ladies, but they also have very interesting perspectives to share with us about this very important but a very I think it's under discussed subject matter in China. So I will just quickly introduce their names and their titles once again. First of all is Moe Moe Lwin. She is Vice Chairperson of CICHA. CICHA standing for Southeast Asia Cultural Heritage Alliance, based in Bangkok, Thailand. And the second speaker is Jarunee. Jarunee is an old friend. We met each other first time in 2019, about 5 years ago, and in Bangkok. And she is the manager for the Cemetery Heritage Trust, which is a subordinate organization of the Siam Society under royal patronage. And the third person is Ms Supitcha. She is a full-time researcher at I believe it's ministry level alliance among Southeast Asian countries, and you are doing research about heritage and climate issues. And most importantly, Ms Supitcha also was selected as a youth alumni attending this COP28 as part of this CICHA delegation. So these 3 ladies, they were all at this very important climate event conference, global conference on climate change. But most importantly, they all represent the heritage sector. So I think I'm going to stop here because time is very limited. I want to give them more time so they can share with us their experience and their observation on how these 2 important matters may interact and may influence and may also involve every one of us. So I think that's my very brief introduction. And later we're going to have the 3 ladies, starting from Jarunee, and then Ms Moe Moe, and then Ms Supitcha, talking about they each have their own slides, so they will share with us. So bear with me, and we're going to start in a minute. So I think it's our turn to welcome Khun Jarunee to start. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Matthew, and the Cultural Heritage Protection Center of Beijing for inviting us today. I'm so glad because we know your organization for a long time, and right now we have a chance to meet your audience. So I would like to share my screen right now to start my presentation. Okay. Okay, I hope that everyone can see my slide clearly. I think for my part, I will talk for about 15 to 20 minutes to provide the background of why we attend to COP28. We are not attending there on our own behalf. We went there because we have the purpose, and we were invited to join the COP28 under the organization of CISHA, the Science Society, and the Cultural Heritage, the Heritage Climate Heritage Network. So I would like to talk about bringing cultural wisdom to COP28. And the organization that we are all the representative of this Southeast Asian Cultural Heritage Alliance. And it is the cultural organization that have 8 members from across Southeast Asia. You will see that there are 40 members from Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Laos, PDR, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And our objective is to promote effective government, community, private sector partnership in cultural heritage management in Southeast Asia, and to strengthen the cultural, the socio-cultural pillar, which is the 3rd pillar of ASEAN, as the people-centered one. And we would like to be the platform for networking amongst Southeast Asian member organizations. And we are focusing on promoting culture and cultural wisdom as the tool for climate action for a few years. We work through 3 different programs: workshop, conference, share time with CISHA Talk is quite similar to the cultural heritage salon that Matthew is doing right now. And the next one is Cultural Heritage Management Clinic, which is promoting the effective management in the heritage city in Southeast Asia. Go back to the issue of climate change. Everyone knows that climate change affects to people's lives. There are the heat waves in Europe. Many people die. It affects to the environment, cultural objects because of humidity, salt, the loss of land, and the degradation of plantation in the ocean, and the migration of other creatures like the dugong in the southern sea of Thailand. But we are the cultural organization, what we supposed to do to fix the climate change? Or nobody can fix it, but how can we make it better? How can we help with this crisis? So we think about looking back to our ancestral wisdom. We would like to protect our cultural heritage, and at the same time, we would like to protect our nature. So there are many people who are talking about creating the innovation to help with the climate action to help the climate change, invent a lot of like technology, but that way not many people can afford to buy it or consume it. But the climate change might be able to solve with other simple ways, like adjust yourself with the way of life, your behavior, the way you consume things, just that. So that's why we organize so many activities to explore the possibility of culture as the tool for climate action during 2020 and 2024. We conduct Share Time with Sisha talks 28 times. There are so many topics presented by youth and senior speakers and cultural practitioners, as well as entrepreneurs. 25 topics in Sisha conference, and there are 22 articles published in the conference book. And at the end, we present 6 panel discussions in COP28. Now I am showing you what are the contents about cultural heritage or cultural wisdom for climate action. This is from our Share Time talk. This I found is interesting because it might involve or related to your culture. This is Feng Shui Woods. Our speaker, Mr. Ian Tan, he is now living in Hong Kong, a professor, and he is a Singaporean. He talked about the relationship between the people, the belief, the forest protection, and the well-being of the community. If you know how to settle down your village and where should be the forest that give you the positive energy, and then you take care of the nature, and the nature will take care you back. This kind of thing, I think that in Chinese culture you can explain more about that much better than me, and that is one example. The next one is the Burmese architect who has the resort in Leh Lake in Myanmar. He has an interest in building the sustainable architecture that fit in the environment and use the local material which help with the low carbon and low energy using. So this kind of example, we also have different examples from Thailand and Philippines as well. And then these are some of the photos from our conference in January last year. You see that there are young people, there are senior speakers, respectable monks joining and present their thought about how culture can cope with climate action, climate change issues. One interesting content is from Mr. Shak Koyok. He is from Orang Asli ethnic group in Malaysia, and he lives in the wetland forest. He raised the issue. At first, he explained about the man and nature, the close relationship, and how they make use of the forest, but still take good care of it. And then the forest can stay for over 100 years with the community. And then he raised the issue about the land rights, the concession by the government. So he's trying to telling the story about the impact from the concession and the urban development to the wetland forest by using the material made of natural products like the rattan, weaving as the map and draw he paint on it to tell the story. So in his artwork, man, people, and the nature cannot be separated. This is something that he trying to say. The next story is about the Buddhism philosophy about non-self. The respectable monk, Pra Anin Sakaya in Thailand, he telling about how people and nature depending on each other. Nothing in this world can stand alone. Everything has to depend on other things. For example, you think that you are living in the controlled environment, you don't have to depend on the nature. That is not right, because you need to eat others' life, other creature. For example, fish or shrimp or even vegetable that can grow because of the sunlight, the air, the water, and the soil. So when you eat vegetable, it means that you absorb all the surrounding around that vegetable or animals around it as well. So you and the nature cannot be separate. It always depends on each other, and that's why we have to be responsible for our surroundings. Next case study is about the conservation of built heritage. Ms. Lim Sia, she is from Penang Heritage Trust, the president of Penang Heritage Trust. She presented this to portray the wisdom of people in the past who designed the building that allow air to flow into the building and use the material that not reflect the heat outside but absorb it. Like they use the eco-friendly materials like clay, bricks, terracotta tiles, timber, things like that. And this kind of thing it still can be applied for the architecture, for today's architecture. Or if we can preserve this kind of architecture, we still can have the example how our people of the past can adapt themselves with the climate perfectly. So from all the presentations in the short time in the conference, we can have so many topics that involve in climate change and culture. A lot of topics that related to traditional wisdom for built heritage conservation. We have 18 topics about the built heritage, conservation, adaptation, and urban city resiliency. 17 people talking about traditional wisdom and practices and the stewardship of nature. And we have more. We have many other topics, but for the red one are the topics that we picked to present in COP28. So you will see that from one interesting topic, climate change, education through music and art. This one is selected to present in the COP28 by Mr. Shak Koyok, who were our speaker at the conference. And one more topic that very interesting is the preservation of indigenous language as climate action. This one is a topic presented by youth. So these are the topics that we picked, and the main message of our content on that presented in the COP28 is actually calling people to look back to the way that they live and look at the people who are living with the nature, how they give to the nature back when they exploit it, and how can we do the same thing? How can we consume as needed? And how do you let yourself attach or depend on the nature as well? We went to the COP28. It's not an easy way. All the things that I am telling you is the journey from the start, from the beginning to the COP28. We raised funds from the crowdfunding platform, and out of the 3 youth here, only one, Kun Sin, the lady on the left, can join COP28. And the rest, the other ones, some of them have to spend their money to join the COP, and some got some sponsorship from other organizations. I am sorry, I cannot make this photo come up. Okay. And this is the environment in the our stage at COP28 in the Thailand pavilion. We have around 35 people in the panel discussion, and some other states have more people. But it is we are lucky that almost all of them have the social media platform to share the event and broadcast it to the public, for the wider public. This one, Supitcha was the moderator. We are talking about the climate and urban culture Asian perspective. Our message is to call for the paradigm shift or the mindset that right now we put human at the center of the development, but the speaker calling that let's put nature as the center, and that if the mindset shift, we can create something different that better for the environment. For this one, Domomo was the speaker, and it's talk about also the city and the architecture and the way that we create the built environments that in the future we should build it, honor heritage and adapt it to respect the nature more and foster the mindset change, and then thinking about community resilience. Some of our indigenous speakers, he presents by playing music and with the poem that he composed by himself, telling the story about how the current Pagakayo people in Thailand connect to the nature from birth to death. And then again, Mr. Chakoyok, who is the indigenous people from Malaysia, he talked about why they asked to preserve the wetland or the environment, because it is the culture to live in the forest. If someone destroy the forest, it means that their culture also destroyed as well. And he asked the policymaker to listen to the community voice, the minority who live neither near the land or near the sea or near the forest. They are all have the knowledge about the biodiversity preservation. So that's why policymakers should listen to them. And although their voice is very little, they are just very little, tiny minority, but their voices matter. And this is also very interesting one. You see that language and preserving indigenous language can also be the climate action, because why? Here Celia, our youth alumni from Vietnam, she pointed out that in many areas that there are a lot of biodiversity, there are indigenous people living in there, and they are the caretaker of this diverse environment. So the knowledge that they speak is contained in the language, and if the language is dying, the knowledge also gone. So when the climate practitioner would like to get involved in this group of people, it is very important that they have to communicate with each other, because the indigenous people, they have a lot of knowledge about their own habitat, and the climate practitioner also have a lot of knowledge about climate change situation. If those can exchange their knowledge and work together, that will be the ideal for climate action. And this is the stage showing the power of youth, the youth saying that not only the senior people can create good policy for climate action, the youth also can actually crafting effective and, most importantly, inclusive policy as well. And these are the atmosphere in the COP28. I think, yeah, what we see is the technology, concrete, large space, a lot of energy consumption. We also have to spend a lot of energy walking around as well. We see indigenous hub, we see a lot of demonstration. And that is people who come here at the event with the hope, they hope that they would like to make their voice heard by different methods. And they want to make some positive changes. And they want to seek new partners to collaborate with. And they seek content. They want to find knowledge and inspiration for their future work. I believe that many of them will get some fulfillment at some point, because they have delivered the thing that they have prepared very well before coming here. And they got some audience, some people to listen to what they want to deliver. But it also depends on after COP28 and how can we make whatever we take away from that COP to another level of engagement in climate action. And I would like to end my presentation here and would like to listen to Dr. Moe Moe to tell more about the outcome from COP28. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jarunee. And I will start my presentation. Let me share this. I hope you see the screen. I was also attending together with Jarunee and experienced most of these the sessions, but I am also as a co-chair of the culture at COP28 as assigned by Supitcha and culture climate heritage network. Then I had a chance to attend some of the important policy makers level meeting and witness their involvement and enthusiastic participation. So I will share about the effort that civil society across the world have put a culture to be at the core of the climate change conversation. Let me start with the COPs and its 28 outcomes, especially the latest COP28. The COP refers to the Conference of Parties, where UN member states, meanings that each nations discuss matters relating to global issues. Here is about the climate change challenges under the UN framework called UNFCCC. It is principally a collective discussions among the national governments to follow the set global goals, such as here is to keep the world temperature rise not to exceed 1.5 degree from the previous pre-industrial era. COP28 was held in Dubai last December, and as a non-state actor attending, that civil societies members in the cultural sector involved in the culture at COP28, then initiative led by CHN, the Climate Heritage Network, and its alliances, including Culture SAM Society, to promote role of culture in the climate change agenda. Agreements and discussions being endorsed in the COP would influence national governments' policies and being followed up for the implementation. COP28, of course, ended with several landmark achievements and decisions, mainly on mitigation of the climate change. For example, the first global stocktake, the GST, which mobilized stakeholders to assess their progress, and especially the transitioning away from the fossil fuel. That is the landmark decisions among the members, emphasizing with the help of the science. So it's hoping to change from the using of the excessive using of fossil fuel. But some has commented that the how and when the specific action to be taken, and tripling the renewables and doubling the energy efficiency by 2030, and to operationalize loss and damage fund, which is nearly $800 million, and COP28 in total mobilized about 85 billion funding to support different areas such as Green Climate Fund or Adaptation Fund and so on. So these are quite the big decisions and negotiations outcome. A few notable initiatives and events also include the building breakthrough, which was launched in under the UNEP 2030, aiming at near net zero building construction, and a coalition for high ambition multi-level partnership called CHAM initiative launched in the ministerial meeting co-hosted by UN Habitat, attended by ministers and officials from the cities and towns across the globe. It was initially, initiated by civil societies, including the city officials in COP27. And this year it was also sponsored and attended and participated well by the government policy maker. So this year, as from the effort of the civil society from the cultural sector, we try to bring these activities and events into the COP28.
Recording in progress.
So this year, the continuing effort made in the previous few years back, the civil society and the cultural sector, including architecture and heritage groups led by CHN, had tried to place culture in political decision of COPs. These initiatives were started since a few years, and we prepare very vigorously last year. and the UAE Ministry of Culture was consulted and closely coordinated in these actions. One is a global call to action that urges to place culture at the core of the climate change agenda, and it was launched a month before the COP28 started. And it collected thousands of signatures for support. And the member states' government were invited to attend high-level ministerial dialogue on cultural-based climate action, and nearly 30 ministers and the high-level officials from the Ministry of Cultures across the world has attended. And the GFCBCA, the group of friends of culture-based climate action, which was intended to be an informal platform for these conversations, was launched at the meeting, the ministerial meeting, and the Emirate Declaration on Cultural-Based Climate Action was also issued. The cultural communities was also actively arranged and involved in the events, plenary sessions, exhibition stands, protests even, and received many audience interest. Though the dozens of ministers attended, and the leaders of the organizations like UNESCO or COMOS has attended and support the ministerial cultural meeting, it was not mentioned even in the COP28 official website after that. And it's surprisingly, there's no recognition on the cultural meetings as well as the declarations was received. There is no mention even in the COP28 website or the UNFCCC website or the UN agencies like UNESCO, apart from the public media on this movement and the meeting or the declaration or this the press release or everything. So it was also found that less or non-participation from the Southeast Asia and the many other Asian countries in this matter. So we may conclude that cultural element is not at the top interest of the climate change discussion at the eye of the many national government. So usually we can say that what cultural ministers in each country has done, it's not related to the climate change matters, or sometimes it may mention about the climate change, but it's in the view of the cultural heritages has been threatened by the climate change events and the phenomena, rather than the culture as a solution to the climate change. So what culture can do, or usually culture was described as under the threat of the climate change impact, and rather than that the solution. And we had faced climate change or the natural disaster since early civilizations, and we humans know how to get adapted to it or how to make a lesser impact, and how to make more resilience. So we all have known that we have all of these cultural practices that that kind of response or reaction to the climate, weather, and environment, or care for environment. There's a lot that previously Jarunee has mentioned in her presentation. So culture is the basis of the human being. It comes from the human's inspiration, and it is a result of how human tries to be adapted to its surrounding, their respect and their ethics, and with both nature or the fellow human community, societies, and how they react to any situations. So it can be expected that culture is a key to the changing each individual behaviors and mindsets, to the societal practices, to the government policy. So I am mentioning here that culture, including like ancestor wisdom, knowledge system, creativity, ethics, faith, values, practices, way of living, and the community attachment. With this, have been getting the benefit for long. And this is culture practices also uniform act. And this means it's a just and inclusive. And this also involves social behavior, understanding, trust, and the point of entry. If you don't understand or if you don't respect each culture, it's very difficult to convince the people or very difficult to make them listen to what you're trying to do. So it should be in the government policy to understand each and everyone's culture. And of course, heritage is also the values, the skills, techniques that we carry on, and we make pride out of it and the legacy to continue. And the art, any creative expression means it's no boundaries and very impactful, and that it can influence the public to make a change if you want them to change. So the culture should be emphasized, and it should be in the policy makers' consideration. So what we talk about 1.5 degree goal in the building practices, because I would like to highlight this subject because it's personally relevant to me in this culture context. And it's actually the building sector is in the learning sector. As you see the diagram underneath, it accounts over 38% of global energy related CO2 emission and 35% of global energy use. So it should be also noted that's not only the building construction process emits CO2, but the operation throughout its lifespan and its embedded CO2 in the materials will also make that global warming or whatever you are trying to tackle it. So it is very important role that the building sector plays in keeping the temperature rise low. But what shall we do this? How? So there's a way that we can do it. That's a reuse or retrofit the existing building. It can be old or existing, but it saves a lot of resources and it saves a lot of CO2 emission. There has been a statement by the former AI President Khongswasdi that the greenest building is the one that already built. It is true that that you can design any LEED certificate or the green building, but the one you already have, you can only improve to use it, will save a lot of energy usage and emissions of the greenhouse gas. So it's still in the practice and it's still need to be in practice, and it's always valid statement. And the nature responsive design, if you're architect or from the engineer from the building sector, and the techniques that it's and the materials, it's how now it's more encouraging to use the biomaterials such as timber or the less emitting cement that also talk about in building breakthrough meetings and conferences. But it's also need to consider how to extract the natural products without harming the local communities, cultural practices, or the damaging the biodiversity in the forest. So what we have to think is how to build in cooler homes, neighborhoods, or even the cities, and how to reduce emission or energy usage, and how to strengthen climate resilience and not exploiting too much of the natural resources, and making it easy, accessible, affordable for a wide application across the countries, and how to be a responsible in designing or developing the built environment. So there can be a way that we all have to think, share the good practices, and to follow if it is a good one. So that's a nature-friendly methods or locally available materials or the locally available skills, knowledge that we have passed on from the past, or the affordable cost and easily adaptable methods and green nets, not to have many other ways to the existing natural elements. But you will also need a lot of input from the technology to be durable, or to be less costly, or things like that. So my next slide is, what do we do next? So this illustration that I have put up here, I found through the on the internet. So there's a great number of cities that are at risk. The coastal cities are fastest sinking, including my city, Shanghai, here, and one city from China, Beijing. And as actually many are located in Asia region. So how government policy would work, and how our practitioner practicing in the industry to follow these principles and challenges, tackling the challenges. Then we have to have that to reduce the gaps in the public policies, encourage non-state actors involvement, because it's clearly that COP has still not recognizing the role of culture practices, indigenous knowledges, or the traditional skills. Then only the non-state sector, I hope this in the attending audiences, that we have to increase our involvement in this trend. And by sharing the knowledge, by doing more research and technical support to prove and to apply and promote public education, especially the public mindset in to be a more responsible development. So in I want to say here is accept and adapt. The climate change, maybe not just coming right now or recent year. Maybe it's a way that the world is experiencing in the time and time. But what if we can't avoid, if we can't make a change, what will happen? Then we have to accept and to adapt. So in the construction and building sector, that's a adaptation of whatever is coming, any challenge. We have to make an adaptation. We cannot just go on like what we have been doing for these recent years or recent decades or a few centuries back. And we, in the Asia, as the most populated and most diverse cultural region, we contain a lot of knowledge, and we have many different skills. We know how to live in the nature, and then we can document and share all those best practices. And it also includes the social, culture, and community dimensions. And it's after all, it's all about the sustainability. It's about the biodiversity, and it's about the green economy and so on. So that's we have to carry on. And I think that's all that we have to take care of our world with the what we have all known since our birth, our care about the saving things. I think we all Asian have that kind of practice, care about the nature and the living in nature, and always surviving from all these challenges, and adapting and changing into it. I think that will help with this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Momo. And now it's Ms Supitcha's turn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Momo. That was an interesting presentation. Even I hear it not the first time, I still love hearing your presentation. So 大家好, my name is Supitcha, and I think it would be it's my pleasure that I get a chance to present in front of you all today. Let me try to share screen in the meanwhile. Okay, and then present. So today I am presenting the perspective of youth, and maybe it can be, hope it can be inspiring for maybe emerging professionals, students, and someone who is just starting in the path of heritage or cultural heritage. So let's hear it from today. So that's me in front of the China Pavilion, with the big panda. That's so cute. And I'm an architect, a researcher. I study world heritage, and also now I think it's really important to bring the new thing into my life, which is like a climate activist, because it's so important to take care of our culture and nature at the same time. So right now, me and my group of students, and also a friend of me at university. Right now, we are forming the NLF Heritage Study Center, where we all like into heritage of our own city, studying bit by bit of the design of our own city to understand in terms of like, you already know Thailand, no? And the flooding is every year. So we try to understand our city a little bit by a little bit as an architect and also as a heritage practitioner. So COP28 that I attended, that have a chance to attend it this year, I think it's shaped me a lot in approach and also in how to see the world and to learn more about what is it out there that I can adapt and use it in my context. So as a youth, no, well, all of the COP people, you know, lining up their government, there are people from authority, there can be another activist and group of people, but there are also a group of youth. And is this a great opportunity at COP28 for, I think at any COP actually, to exchange the experience, like sharing your work. What am I doing? What have you been doing? Maybe we can share the issue, lesson learned together, and get some comments from each other and supporting each other also. To know that we are not like fighting or working in the conservation of our country alone, but there are friends that might be facing some challenges and we can exchange. Another thing is to inject new ideas. Like you learn more things from different pavilions, from different booths, from different NGO. Maybe some country do this, and this might be a great idea that you can adapt on your work as well, which is mainly what I really love about COP, where you can inject and hearing about new idea from different places, including the policy that Momo just mentioned earlier. And as a youth over there, is this a great chance to speak out and getting involved in some initiative that might be already put up there by another group of youth or another initiative, maybe CICHA, that people can see that, it's happened over here and I want to join, to contribute, for example. And that's how we building up a connection, that's how we building up new networks and exchanging our knowledges. And that's me in the Indonesian pavilion, where we also exchange about like the climate and physical heritage and how can we use our own ancestral knowledge to support the more sustainable urban urban in our area. From the picture, I think it can speak better than me already that making new friends and learn new policy can shape the new way of thought, and especially in an international level where sometimes support can come from afar. And until today, I think my organization and also with a friend who is from like Ukraine and Germany still have a communication on how are we going to like develop our project or research in the future. For example, one of the presented topic that I and my friend Kamori, Celia, and also Nas, who developed this in the CICHA conference in the past year, we try to let our voice out there that it is so important that language is need to be considered to include more people to understand about climate change, to fight, to get our environmental issues maybe not go away, but like tackle it a bit by bit together. We think that there are, as my friend or our groups consider that there are different minority, there are different group of people who speak different languages. Sometimes with the policy come from up above, some come from some UN document or other documents, might not be able to communicate to all group of people, and it is an exclusive way of conservation. So we think that language should be put in the heart of climate agenda to make sure that people get heard of their voices and maybe communicate to get more effective conservation method and fighting climate change together. Also, maybe support with the policy to integrate like all of the different languages in translation maybe, or maybe support people who maybe have some know-how but maybe not speak the dominant language, so that we can recognize the diversity of language and be able to communicate this issue, global issue, to all of them. Also support the youth-led organization. This come up because we, as a student, there are always be people in our class who maybe speak different languages, but their voice not really being heard, or maybe they don't understand the language properly. So we think that youth-led organization that right now they try to have their own initiative in translating stuff should be recognized, and maybe can be a mechanism in helping this language barrier go away. And also recognition of climate change in different sector, especially in education, is really important to make the language get recognized and make the inclusivity into the process of fighting climate change together. We present that as Kun Jarunee mentioned, but also we also learned that during our like way to speak out, we also learned from different workshops that existed in different pavilion. For example, on the top left, I was in the German pavilion with different folks from Mexico, Japan, Ukraine, and also Chile, to talk about how can we what is the consideration and what is the gaps in climate activists in different countries, and it's really nice. Also, I'm from Thailand myself. On the picture on the bottom right, bottom left, you can see like, I just know more of my country, that there are many activists, or also many voices, many organizations running in the similar idea that we can collaborate further. So yeah, working alone is not is really sad, but coming to COP and knowing people more really help expanding a lot of ideas. And as Moe Moe already mentioned, that culture is supposed to be the heart of the climate actions, and supposed to be the heart where we understand and tackling this issue more and more. It might not seem to be implemented in like suddenly or right away, but it needs support, So after knowing, after hearing, after learning, I think as a youth, I think it is really crucial to support the holistic view in heritage conservation, to find a way to extend the work, to find a way to learn from different contexts, but with considering of people, our culture in the nature that we settled down since our ancestor time. Why do we need that? Because once humans settle down in some place, as Moe Moe said, we develop some culture on it, which this culture speaks and tell us what the condition of the place is, what is the nature of the place is, what is the thing that we should know before living in some different area. So let me take you guys to Bangkok. For example, in Bangkok, you can see beautiful Chao Phraya River, the Grand Palace, pagoda. But if you see the expansion of urban developed year by year and until now is really crowded. And because Bangkok and the Chao Phraya River is the perfect place for the water to shed, is the place where the flood come every year. And with the dense of the city, where in the area is a great place for rice field and orchard city in the past, it might not be only thing to consider about only architecture or only building urban place, building high rises architecture anymore, but to consider the nature of the place that the water here will be coming, the flooding is a normal thing that we should consider. And what should we consider in our culture is maybe, as you can see, like the local houses have the steel houses, the transportation is the route, that Bangkok get a traffic stuck every single day. But back then people still use the boat, and it's really is helping with the carbon emission. And people over there are still hidden, like, is it the small community like this is like a hidden gem of Bangkok where a lot of high rises go, but we have some intangible cultural heritage hidden in the people. So that one example of the Chao Phraya River where people settle down on the riverbank, the nature of the place that speaks through their architecture is so significant and so important that this is one little example that why we should consider both people, culture, nature, and what policy that announced at this COP underline this importance. And what about Dubai, Because the COP happened in Dubai, and we see our crew walking around the city. And we also suspect some kind of thing, like considering that, is it sustainable? What are we moving next, So I have some kind of like snaps that explain some culture of the physical building and in Dubai that might be so interesting. So on the top left, is this the wind collecting element that when the wind come in, it give you the cool air into the architecture. But what we walk and observe is sometimes we see the air condition right next to this wind tunnel, and sometimes it's give this kind of like scenario where you need to drain the water out, and it's give the dense of humidity into the architecture, and sometimes really not sustainable. It's questionable in terms of nature. It's in terms of consideration on nature, because obviously it might be too hot, yes, but I don't know about development, but we may be able to reconsider using the local traditional way of this and maybe develop it into some way that it can tackle the present climate. And also one thing that I love the most in walking into this old area is that you can see that even the material back then, they use these kind of corals so that it's breathable, But right now they kind of use the material in the building that use some cement or unbreathable coloring. So we can see the trace of humidity climbing up, and it might ruin the building someday. People try to encapsulate some plant inside, but sometimes within the AC air conditioned, I don't know if it's really going to be sustainable, but it's questionable. But I think with something that is still left as a trace that we can suspect, we still have the way to integrate that into the future architecture, building, or even urban development. So what I love about Dubai in that sense of what COP tried to speak is that the mass transit in the term of like the boat that a lot of people can travel in one go, and it's crossing the river is so beautiful. Like, I think is really give the characteristic to the city more than the highway roads and something that make us walk, I don't know, too many miles to be able to get to one another place. I think the boat and mass transit in Dubai is one of the good example as a youth walking around after COP's break day. And I also love the local architecture in the market where they have the ventilation, considering that, in this kind of country, you have the strong wind going on, but, the architecture elements in the public space. Sometimes it's highlighting the material of that exists in the place. It's highlighting what the condition of the place is like, which is windy area, so it can flow and let the people who walk in the market not collapse. So with all the example, what do you do at COP? With all the example of how we can put nature, culture, and people officially by great policy that we hope to endorse it, that we hope to get it implemented in our way, you know, because we cannot just wait for the authority to make everything for us. We as a like a normal people, as a normal youth, as a normal student, can work our way to involve that idea, involve that thought into our project, into our work, even with friends, you know. It doesn't have to take like a lot of effort on your own. You can always make friends who think in the same way as you, and then maybe we can come up with something that can make your cultural heritage be remembered, that can make your natural heritage get recognized, and the development getting more and more holistic, that we didn't leave anything behind. And for me, as a youth, you know, I think it's so important that we should not let the knowledge about our ancestors, still houses, boat, or maybe even the gap in different two buildings that let the wind pass through. This kind of thing speaks out the way of living, no? So it's also my responsibility as one of the youth that we should not let this knowledge collapse in our generation. We should not let our nature die more and more in our generation. At least with the thing that you have, just make an effort to start that and bring more friends, get more voice heard, and get more network. You don't have to wait until the next COP to do that. And we should never stop at one COP, you know. We should carry on our mission. We should carry on our mission all the time to make sure that your environmental get protected, your cultural heritage is there with you until the next generation. And I think that's one of the most important key takeaway that I get from COP. So, 谢谢你. I'm so glad that everyone, I don't know how many people, it's a little bit weird not to know that, but I am glad, and it's a pleasure to speak and to share this information with you. And this is last picture here is the Sisha family, the crew that walked through the sand and all the sun and everything. And we still keep walking to get our voice heard and get our project carry on and let our nature, culture, and people safe in our region and our world. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Ms Supitcha. That's an excellent talk. And I have to say that all our three ladies, I really enjoyed all three talks. This is one of the best talks, salons that I have participated in the past few months. Very rich in examples. And also you shared a lot of your thoughts, observations. I think there's also a lot of inspiration for me to look at the Chinese strategy in terms of countering the climate change. So maybe I think people in the group, first of all, very happy to report that we have now 449 people participated our online salon. That's a much higher goal than I expected, because this is the first one we have done we have done 33 cultural salons, cultural heritage salons in the past 1.5 years. And this is the only one in English. And normally we have about 1,000 to 3,000 people for our previous salons. And for this one, this is the only English heritage salon, and we have hit a much better mark than I expected. So congratulations, ladies. And yeah. So I think that I will ask audience to prepare questions if you have. 大家如果有问题，也可以用中文在这个对话框里面问，然后我来帮着翻译啊。大家不必客气，就是随便提出这个问题。So I'm just saying in Chinese that they can also ask questions, type in the questions in the chat box in Chinese. I will help to translate. But there are a couple of things I took lots of notes, and one thing I would like to maybe ask Momo is that you mentioned a number. You mentioned that COP28 mobilized a lot of money in funding green climate fund or adaptation fund. So that sounds like a huge number. It's 85 billion US dollars. So I'm just curious, what's the source of this number, and can you give a little bit more explanation about this number? Because I think that that shows the dedication of either local governments, national governments, or international organizations, how they look at this matter and how determined they are in terms of countering the climate change.
I would say I am not sure, because this is from the report it's called Consensus Report. It was issued by the COP28 website. You can also check in their website. It's issued right after the event. Yeah. It's finished in I think about 15 of December. And it's still, I think, kind of updating, because it's got from the all throughout the 2 weeks event. It's a commitment from after the negotiation between the government officials, the government ministers, officials, the world leaders. And also not only in that 2 weeks, all throughout the whole last year during that UAE term. Yeah.
Okay. I think there's another question about how I think it's Jarunee mentioned that local people know local natural environment better. I believe this is from your part of the PowerPoint discussion, and I also think that we should. This is one reason that we should really preserve cultural diversity, so people can understand, carry on their local wisdom, because each particular area have their own, challenges in terms of, surviving as a community, living in harmony with nature, or working together as a community to, develop our culture, develop our economy. I have worked with a group of indigenous people from Yunnan province, which is close enough to Thailand. And, the Mekong River actually runs through that, the upper reaches of Mekong River run through the Yunnan province. But one group of people there is called Pumi people. I'm still in touch with some of the youth that I met about 15 years ago. Well, they're not youth anymore. They are fathers and mothers. But they have done something amazing to me. I would like to quote one example, that the one village in Yunnan province, they like their trees very much, because one of their I'm not sure how to say that in English, but it's a very rare kind of spruce, and it's called the pandas in plants. So it's like that kind of rare species. And this village, in order to protect this kind of rare species, because many of them are already very, very old, 1,000-year-old trees, and it will take more than the 4 of us to hug one tree. So you can see how thick that tree is, the tree trunk. And so it's kind of very hardwood, so best for furnitures. And so if you log one tree, you can sell it for a lot of money. So the local people would like to preserve the forest. It's not a big forest already, but it is still a forest. So you can take a walk. It smells really good. You can hear the bird chirping. So they declined, the local government, to build a road, a paved, hard road to the village, because they knew if that road was to be built, then there will be people coming at night, and they will very quickly, secretly log some of those trees and run away with a truck. So that's what they have done for about 15 years when I first met them. So I was very, very touched by that movement. And I think that's because they also have this kind of local tradition, they worship the god of trees. So that's also part of their own culture. But this culture also helped to preserve the local forest. So I think they are making their own contributions. They are sacrificing some of their comfort, but they are also making contributions in terms of their local environment protection. So that's what I'm trying to add to what Jarunee mentioned. But do you have any more comments? I'm sure you have some more examples from Thailand.
Yeah, maybe I can talk about my own research at a community forest in Lamphun province. It's called Ban Thum Yao. It is a really original community forest that is located there over 100 years. And there are generations of people living there, located from somewhere in Chiang Mai and then settle down here. People understand how to, what type of forest they should use or should protect, or which part they should build their houses, and they develop the dike, or the waterway, and they identify the sacred forest so that no people can cut the tree, something like that. When people live in some place, they learn about the place, like Supitcha said, the DNA of the place, and they understand which part should be preserved and which part should be used. And sometimes I don't know that people in the past, they also believe in the animism. They have the story to tell the young people that don't do this, don't do that, because if you do this, you get into the forest, you don't pay respect to the shrine, something might happen to you. And sometimes they all have so many stories about the bad dream, the sickness, if you don't follow the regulations. So it's things become traditions and belief that people have to follow. And the outsider, if they come and they don't follow this tradition, bad luck can happen, something like this. I don't know that it's the real story, or it's the way that the people in the past think that it will help protect the forest. But the thing is, in that village, when time passed, they make the wooden dike in the past, but right now it's turned to be the concrete. Every year they have to pay respect to the spirit of the dike, because they believe that the spirit is all around to protect water, protect the trees, the land, something like this. Although they already turned the wooden dike into the cement, they still keep the practice of worshipping the spirit of the cement dike. It's something that's still going on. It's the belief that still passed on, and you cannot stop doing that. And it's the vision of the village leader as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I like the idea of spirit for a dike. That sounds very interesting. I never thought about that way. But I have another question for Ms Supitcha, and I think you mentioned about well, first of all, I never know that are you Chinese origin?
Oh, for sure, 我是泰国人, but my grandma are Chinese.
I see. Okay, so you have some Chinese blood. That's why you have a Chinese name.
Yes, 我是林姨.
Okay, very nice. Because it's very it feels very, very good when I hear you speaking Chinese.
But my grandpa would be happy right now. Please tell him.
Okay. His education is very successful. But I'm also very happy to learn about your observation as an architect about some of the low tech or high tech methods in doing the cooling of the buildings or air ventilation of those buildings. And I also like your example about Bangkok, how Bangkok developed and what kind of learnings we can see. Bangkok has changed a lot. There used to be a lot of soils, a lot of canals surrounding the city, but now we replaced a lot of soils with road, concrete road. Yeah. So those are things also happening. There's a similar example in southern China along the Yangtze River. The Yangtze River was also very untamed, of course, over the centuries. So whenever it floods, actually goes into those side rivers, goes into those swamps, goes into those lakes. But I think in 1950s, we were certain that a human can conquer nature. So we actually built a lot of dikes along the river, and we instead just drained a lot of those lakes, so that we can make those lakes becoming very good of arable land. So that actually caused a lot of problems, because in 1990s there was a very big flood that defeated our dikes. So reflooded those very good crop area, and a lot of people have to move because they were already settled down for a few decades. But this is a new challenge. So that kind of thing, what you mentioned there, remind me about that. Do you have anything that you want to elaborate a little bit more about from urban planning perspective?
I think one thing that we need to really hear back again together for what you say is that we can never conquer the nature by any means.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, right. We learn to live with water. We learn to live with the nature, whether it's the wind, whether it's the fire, whether it's the soil, whether it's the water. So for me, I don't mean that we have to go buy a boat right now and then row in our river. No. But like the way that we maybe develop that into the road, maybe the way of the water have to stay. But how to make that all come together? We cannot deny development at all. But how can we learn that what we had? For example, this is the root of the water. Water will come and the land gently absorb all the water for you, so that it's not getting to your grandma bedroom. It's just like that. How can we live with it? No, so we let the water go in the same way, not put all the cement or the concrete block into it to block that. Not only that the water will be raised higher and higher every year, you're gonna build the wall higher every year, and until when? Until you cannot see the river anymore or something. Yeah, for me, learning what our nature condition is really important. If not only in Bangkok but elsewhere, if whether you settle down on the slope, you have to know the way of the mountain. You stay near the river, you know the way of water. That is really important. I want to add up a little bit more on Pijuk, Kun Jarunee example on the on Lamphun case. My private research is in Phrae province, and between two mountains, they people of the past, like always tell their next generation, don't cut the tree near where the two mountains meet, because that when the flood come in, that work helps them blocking the flood from protecting their protecting
landslide.
the villages. Right. But then they say in the way that the spirit will be angry if you do so. So I think that's what we as a youth, and I'm a student, want to extract from our ancestors saying, so that we know this place is the area that we should not touch. This place is the area that we should know more. I think in that kind of sense that we learn by our ancestors, not just like no more spirit anymore. We do this. No, we hear that to understand and adapt into our life. That's the great example in Chao Phraya River, also in Kun Jarunee example, and also in different places. Even in China, I love hearing about all of this moral from my grandpa, because I will try to get like, maybe it's mean the soil, maybe it's mean the water, or something like that. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Can I also add
sure.
on this?
Please.
It's not only the very past, long time ago ancestor knowledge, but also I found in the recent years, for example, like someone have posted on Facebook about the area or the old hometown, and someone commented, in our young childhood, the place, the area next to this, because this is already developed, the core of the urban area. And she mentioned that when we were young time, the area next to the monastery is actually the pond, the lake. But because of the development, it is already lost. So that kind of knowledge is also good in sharing the current development policy knowledge or the urban planning. And then I totally agree what you have been talking about. The nature, the whole world is, we have to share not only by the human and the development, we have to share with the other living creatures, as well as the water, the land. The water, you have to offer their own place, because we all have to have the fair share. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Time is really limited. We have 1 more minute, but I would like to maybe extend maybe for another 5 minutes. One thing I want to say is that I'm not sure if you realize that the Chinese government made a promise, I think also on one of the previous COP meetings, that China will set 2 goals for the next half a century. One is that by 2030, we will achieve carbon peaking, 碳达峰, so carbon peaking. So that's not only 6 years away from now. So I think that's a very ambitious goal that we are going to achieve that target. The second target is by 2060, China will achieve carbon neutrality. So that's very, very ambitious as well. That's 36 years from now. So I want to ask you if you know in Thailand, in Myanmar, or in other Southeast Asian countries, if you also have any similar goals. Because in China, I think that I will give you another example. We all know the Palace Museum in Beijing. By the way, if you come to Beijing, I would be very happy to show you the Palace Museum. Secondly, I would like to say that I have some friends working in the Palace Museum. I know they are initiating a very interesting project called Zero Waste. And that was started with the help of another environmental NGO, environmental charity called One Ke Foundation. So I think jointly they have worked on that a few years ago. When I visit the Forbidden City, I can see some of the facilities, some of the promotional posters targeting both the staff members, because Palace Museum is super big. It has more than 3,000 employees. And of course, and it has more tourists. It had 18 million visitors in 2019, the year before COVID. Last year, tourism started revived. So, but still, it's not that many people, but still 14 million, I think, 14 or 15 million people visitors. So that's why they are starting this zero waste project initiative. Of course, that's a ongoing project. It doesn't mean that they achieved zero waste already, but I think that in terms of heritage and administration, it's helping our national government to achieve that goal. So do you know any such examples in your country or in your area with similar ambitions?
It's pardon me for because of our recent country's situation. I don't know much about the update commitments from Myanmar government, but our country is still less developed, and I hope that though we also suffer a lot from the climate change impact, but the carbon emission or in compared to it's not that high. That's what I would like to report on that. And then I also it's very good to hear what you have talked about. So it's very good to start from each individual or each organization to start with, whatever even the government ambition are too high or whether it's achievable or not, or like a COP, whatever COP ambition on the 1.5 degree. And we have just learned that it's already going to bust. So it's though not achievable, but you have to try those from the individual level to the community, to organization, to the national, to the world. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Momo.
I think for in Thailand, the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister during the COP26 announced that Thailand will achieve the carbon neutrality in 2050.
2015.
50.
2050. Okay.
Yes, and net zero in 2065.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also would like to add that it would be great for the green financing and for the kind of build heritage conservation, because that is the thing that we reuse the building and preserve the knowledge that the wisdom, like in my background like this, why doing something like this don't have any incentive from the government, and it is the very eco-friendly building.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to report that we have 537 individual joined us for the past 1.5 hours. So congratulations, lady, once more. And I want to make one more point, and before we wrap up, I'm sure some people will ask, you are all heritage NGOs, so why you should really work on climate change matters? I think maybe some of the what we have discussed already answered this question. But on top of that, I would like to say that everyone, including the heritage we care, are part of the natural environment. We are, all human settlements, although we have more than 7 billion people, human settlements are still just taking part, a very small part of the surface of the earth. And but we have already caused enough troubles. So aside from caring for about the heritage, but at the same time, just trying to study or use our ancient wisdom from our ancestors, we not only preserve heritage, but also preserve our climate, our Earth, Mother Earth. So let's say I think that's one arrow or one stone, two birds strategy. In my opinion, I think that's something, you know, a part of NGOs social responsibility. So that's my last comment. Any comments from you?
Yes, I totally agree. Though I think many of us, or most of us, are actually the heritage conservation. For us, like Yangon Heritage Trust, it's emphasizing on the urban heritage. It doesn't just mean that the individual iconic monumental buildings. It's about the urban landscape. It's about the characteristics of the whole urban cityscape. So that includes not only the building, it's also the natural elements and also the cultural practices of the human and their memories or many intangible elements. So that is our original. But since joining as a teacher with the trend, the aim is also include the how the heritage can be in the light of the climate change challenges in this era. And the view is not just about the mourning, about how heritage areas are affected, but heritage is a solution. The cultural knowledge are the solution, because that's what we already have, what we have been rich, especially like our Asian people with the rich, diverse, and the countries with a long history. So, and also that the climate change challenges have been caused by the human related cause. So I think the solution must be also in the human. So if you change what the practices you are doing that cause the climate change impact, then you have to change your practice and how your ancestors have lived in a good way. Then that I think that's we trying to find the answer in it.
Thank you very much, Momo. Because our audience are very quiet, we'll ask maybe one question to our audience. So I will ask the questions in both languages. So I would like to ask our audience, if you are still watching us, do you think climate change and the cultural heritage are two things relevant to each other, or do you think that cultural heritage sectors can take some actions to counter climate change？ 那么我的问题啊，我想就是问一下我们科学下还在听我们的这个直播的这些朋友们啊，我们的志愿者们，我们对文化遗产、对气候变化非常关心的这个我们的观众们，那么你们觉得就是文化遗产保护和气候变化这两个事儿有相关吗？这个文化遗产保护有没有可能帮到我们的气候变化？如果你觉得有帮助的话，请你打一下1，在你的这个文字框里面输一下1。如果你认为没有帮助的话，你输一下2，好吗？ So if you think that whatever we can do in terms of heritage in heritage preservation helps the climate change, then you type 1. And if you think it doesn't matter, then you type 2. If you disagree with the whole purpose of our, you type 2. Okay, so I think that so far I only get 1, so that's very good. Although, yeah, we only get 1 at the moment. So I'm very happy to see that people do agree with us. So I think that's a good moment to wrap up today's salon. So again, Momo, Jarunee, and Ms Supitcha, thank you so very much for your excellent presentation and all the preparation you have done in making this event such a successful event. And I would like to do a cha event with you to reciprocate your hospitality and your great support. And of course, and my offer to show you around Beijing, including the Palace Museum, stays. So thank you all very much. Bye-bye. Yeah, okay. Maybe can we do one more group shot? I will just do it on my phone. So just look at your screen. Look at your screen, and I will just do a screenshot. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Let me see. Another one. I think I look a little bit weird. 1, 2, 3. Nice. I think this one will work. Thank you so very much, and see you another time.
Thank you so much 谢谢你
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadee ka. Bye.
Thank you so much.